how a man breaks a woman. In this video, we'll talk about destructive relationships where a woman suffers. And often strangers may not notice and think that in this family there is peace, yes, harmony. But for some reason, the woman is unhappy. So there are different ways to break a woman down from emotional to physical. And we'll talk about all of this in my video. So the first way. One of the tools that men use to break a woman down is emotional abuse. And the first thing that comes to mind is gaslighting. When a woman is given the idea that something is wrong with her, a woman may have doubts about her psychological stability when she is told that she imagined it. When, for example, she smells a man's perfume and she's told that something is wrong with her, that something is happening to her again. That makes the woman doubt her own adequacy. So she starts to lose track of what's true, what's made up, what's reality, and what she just thinks she sees. And she really starts to believe that she's just imagining things a lot. A man often twists the facts in such a way that it becomes really hard for the woman to feel okay with herself. And in this way, a man can break a woman down. Next, the next point of emotional abuse is devaluation. And devaluation really destroys a woman's self-esteem to the point where she starts to break down from the inside. Support is really important for women, especially from a loving person, especially someone who's close by. And when, for example, a woman is instilled with the idea that she is ugly, that somehow her legs are not right, for example, and her figure is not what it should be, and her hair is gonorrhea, for example, and her voice is ugly, and in general, who would look at her? She's so useless. For some reason, even if at the very beginning she didn't believe in it and knew what she was like at some point, he begins to forget what she is like and begins to see himself in these images. At some point, he begins to think, what a blessing it is that this man is next to me, because really, who would look at me like this? Self-esteem may be destroyed so much that it may take a long time to recover. So, if someone around you is trying to convince you that you're not right, that you're not beautiful, that you're somehow wrong or not good enough, think about what this person might be trying to achieve. Maybe they just want to control you and are afraid to let you go. Maybe he just wants to control you and is afraid. Let go of yourself. Surround yourself with people who support you, build your self-esteem, and believe in you. Then your wings will spread. But if someone is trying to clip your wings, to cut or trim them, then there's really no point in that kind of relationship. Next, the next form of emotional abuse is ignoring and silence. When a man can ignore a woman, and at some point, a woman starts to feel, well, insignificant. She feels a deep sense of pain, emotional exhaustion. She feels helpless because, for example, just a couple of days ago, everything was fine. Then some situation happened and he isn't even trying to fix it. He's trying to shift all the responsibility for the situation onto the woman. And now, by resorting to such manipulations, silences, and ignoring, he creates such a message. Well, do something about it yourself, or receive this kind of attitude from me towards you. And a huge burden really falls on the woman. She often cannot bear this burden emotionally, and may become emotionally destroyed. Next, the next form of emotional abuse is emotional roller coasters. When a man creates that push-pull dynamic in a relationship where it's close and then far away, hot and cold. At first, he's gentle, caring, and affectionate. And often, it's narcissists who create these emotional roller coasters. At the beginning of a relationship, they create this sweet fairy tale. When a woman thinks, here he is, the prince, princess's fairy tales. Everything is at my feet. Everything is as I dreamed. Everything is as I read in the books. He brings me flowers. He's courting me. He invites me to the movies, says all the things I want to hear, and so on. That is, each has her own dreams and wishes about how a man should treat her. So when a narcissist comes into a woman's life, he quickly picks up on what she needs, what she wants, and gives her that for a while. For a while, she gets a dose of happiness, like a drug, and further the man creates the opposite reality that is as good as it was, so it is now, and it will be bad. That is, he will ignore, he will disappear, he will not pick up the phone, he will speak coldly, he may call names, he may create some difficult situations. And at that moment, she is very much destroyed because she does not understand why and for what reason she will do such a thing. Often, the woman is a victim getting into such a relationship. She thinks that she is to blame for everything. It's like she did something wrong, and now she's wondering, what's going on? These kinds of relationships lead to chronic anxiety and a strong emotional dependency. So she becomes so dependent on this man. She is in constant fear, in constant anxiety. She starts looking into her man's mouth because she is afraid that at some point, this scenario will repeat itself again. Again, he'll pull away. Again, he'll leave. Again, he'll be cold with her. Again, he'll act in ways she wishes he wouldn't. So this feeling of instability and the anxiety that starts to live with the woman constantly, this moment really tears her apart from the inside. By the way, write in the comments if you had moments when a man used emotional violence. Have you ever faced situations like this? Maybe you're going through something in your life right now. Share in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. Next, how else can a man break a woman down? He can establish total control and isolation. So, in order to make it easier to control the victim, you need to cut off everything unnecessary from her. She needs to be controlled, isolated, and made to feel jealous and suspicious. This is what a manipulative controller takes advantage of. At first, when a woman gets into a relationship with a man like that, she might feel a moment when he starts to. She learns a lot about him. He starts to worry about what time she finishes, for example, her classes, if it's university or college, or what time her workday ends. He starts, for example, to pick her up. At first, he might start to scold her for not picking up the phone, and he worries about where she's been. And she might find it flattering. She might like it because, well, he cares enough to worry that something might happen to her. But over time, in fact, it's all getting worse, where there is some kind of imbalance. If this imbalance is seen at the very beginning, over time this imbalance will simply increase, grow. So if from the very beginning a man tries to control you, and it can be suppression of your individuality, it can be financial control, it can be your schedule, clothes, communication, movement, anything. If you encounter control at the very beginning, then this control will increase. And over time, it takes away her sense of independence. That is, at some point she does not feel independent, and she begins to feel as if she is independent. A child whose every move is controlled endlessly at some point realizes that she is helpless, that she is, for example, in despair, and that she is afraid to make any decisions in her life. She shifts responsibility for her life onto the controller, which, in principle, is what he needs. Next, at the next stage, the controller often completely isolates her from her environment. He can talk about, for example, her friends not being very good. He can twist and misrepresent some things. He can set her against. For example, her mother, father, brother, sister. So there comes a moment when your surroundings are seen as bad for you, negatively influencing you. And at some point, because a woman has feelings for a man, it seems to her that he cares about her. She begins to take his words seriously. Oh, maybe that's really true. Perhaps they wish me harm. Perhaps my friends are jealous of me. Perhaps my mother wishes me bad things. Perhaps my sister is setting me up because she doesn't want me to be happy, and so on. And at some point, a woman might think that the man is the only one in her life she can rely on. But over time, she realizes what a trap she has fallen into and often feels desperate because she is left alone with the abuser. She deprives herself of support. She deprives herself of people on whom she could rely in a difficult situation, and she is in despair. So we can also include jealousy and suspicion here. Again, jealousy can often be appealing to a woman at the beginning, and she might think, wow, I must be really important to him. He loves me so much if he's jealous. But in reality, these are internal issues. Manipulator. He needs to control. He needs to be jealous. Love. For him is something completely different. It's important for him to dominate, to strip his victim of their surroundings. The main thing is that she is understandable to him. The main thing is that she is by his side. And often, jealous people end up doing some really terrible things. And the thing is, the problem isn't with the woman next to them, but with themselves. Often a jealous person does not believe that he can be loved just like that and be with him because he was chosen, because he is loved, because people want to be with him. He doesn't believe it. And often it's all due to wounds and traumas, childhood traumas, maybe adolescent traumas, when a man realizes that he can't just be loved for who he is, for example. And when a woman who he thinks he likes, who he feels something for, ends up in his hands, he's trying to take something away from her. The environment should be completely hidden, say, closed in a cage so that, for example, it can be admired. But will a woman really be happy in such a relationship? Often a woman doesn't know what to do with a jealous person and feels like her life is completely devoid of any color. Well, for now, I'm moving on to the next point. Subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next helpful video on the topic of relationships between men and women. So moving on, how else can a man break a woman down? This is verbal physical abuse. And this is the most terrifying thing a manipulator can resort to, causing emotional and physical pain. Verbal aggression is the word as a weapon when a man insults, criticizes, threatens, intimidates. Any of his words are a form of aggression, making the woman realize that she starts to fear him. Even if he hasn't raised a hand to her, she fears him, fears his words, fears his threats. She realizes that she is not safe. And it's a really important feeling to have next to a man. It's about feeling safe. If at any point during your communication or interaction with a man, you realize that being next to him makes you feel scared or uneasy, these feelings need to be responded to and asked of oneself. The question is why I was afraid now, what I was afraid of now, what behavior of it scared me now, and answer yourself honestly. Well, right now, take off your rose-colored glasses and answer honestly. What scared you now if you were scared by his aggression towards you or towards another person, outbursts of rage, impudence, some kind of don't think that you will ever pass through the same situation? Often, an abuser, even at the beginning of a relationship, struggles to contain their aggression, but that aggression will be directed not at you, but at everyone around. However, there will definitely come a moment when that aggression will be aimed at you. If you hear from a man, there's this moment when it feels like everyone around is bad. All the women are no good. So, you're wonderful. But there was that bad woman. Over there was that kind of woman. If you hear a man talking about his previous relationships, and it makes you feel scared, and you realize you don't want to end up in a similar situation then, it's better to avoid those kinds of relationships. People find it really hard to change. It's almost impossible. Only if he starts to recognize himself and wants to live differently, that's when it all begins. It starts from the point where he accepts the fact that he's been doing things wrong and what needs to be done differently and wants to live differently. But again, it's also a huge, painstaking job of working on yourself. Next, physical violence. This is the moment when a woman is suffering a lot in her relationship and is very scared. She's really scared to leave this relationship because she starts fearing for her life. Where there is physical violence, there are often threats and insults as well. Where there is physical violence, there is 100% low self-esteem in women. There she heard everything, there she saw everything, there she had already suffered so much that she did not believe in herself. She did not believe that it was possible to live somehow differently. She is afraid of making someone angry. She is afraid of doing something wrong. She thinks that if she behaves better at certain moments, then physical punishment will not follow, but physical punishment often intensifies and can lead to tragic consequences. So, if you're facing physical violence, raise the alarm. Reach out for help from everyone, friends, family, and even the police. Don't be afraid that things will get worse. It'll be worse if you stay silent, hiding at home, covering up, for example, your bruises. And at some point, physical violence can end in tragedy. This also includes threats and intimidation. It starts to paralyze a woman's will to resist. So, she's scared. And the threats can be such that I'll take your kids away from you. If you leave me, I'll kill you. I won't let you live. I'll do something. I'll do something to you. I'll do something to the kids. Any threats and intimidation will break you down as much as your patience can handle. In any case, if you have fallen under the influence of manipulation and you feel emotional pain, physical, if you are afraid in this relationship, you need to take responsibility for yourself and your life into your own hands and think about how to change something. How can I change my life for the better? Don't think that everything will just resolve itself or that it will somehow blow over. No. If you find yourself in such a situation, you need to take your life into your own hands and do something to change this life. That's all I have for this video. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Leave a comment about what you'd like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell, and goodbye, everyone.